Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. So you hit platinum and you watch my prior videos on how to get better at rank series. I call platinum the rank where you start to become honest with yourself. You discover what player you are and you find out what areas you need to actually improve upon. Because if you don't, even if you rank up in diamond, you're just going to be stuck there for a really long time. So I want you to take this video seriously, and whenever I talk about the checklist, which I'm going to get into right now, I need you to be honest with yourself. If you're watching this, you need to confirm this checklist moving forward. 1. You're starting to feel confident with your aim. 2. Don't completely fall apart under pressure off drop. 3. You understand the maps to kind of a basic degree. 4. You're building confidence with your legend of choice and you understand other legend abilities. And of course, lastly, you have a basis and understanding of every gun in the game. Not perfect, but you have at least a general understanding. Now, if you answered any of these questions and you are hesitant, you got to realize you're going to probably get hard stuck on platinum, especially if you're solo queuing it. It's going to be inevitable. Realize also the language is a focus on a general understanding, building and improving. When you reach diamond and you're starting to go above in that rank into masters and predator, all of those things need to be confident to ensure you can actually confidently rank up. So now let's discuss what's actually important within platinum. Let's discuss legend choice. Legend choice at this rank will actually start to matter. The only reason it does not if you excel further than the average in the following categories: aim, positioning, rotation, or movement. If you play Wattson, Rampart, or a non-meta legend, you're going to have to compensate for it in a different category. Let's discuss legends that are more difficult to utilize: Mirage, Wattson, Crypto, Revenant, Lifeline, and Rampart. Now, middle of the road, kind of general in the middle of the pack, are Bangalore, Caustic, Seer, Mad Maggie, Loba, and Fuse. Now, the top end legends are Wraith, Gibraltar, Bloodhound, Pathfinder, Octane, Valkyrie, Ash, and Horizon. Now, please, before you start getting upset about your legend in the category, this is not a definitive tier list. That's not the purpose of this. This is what I've done is created high-level notes. Depending on the player, legends go up and down depending on their skill level. This is where we talked about the honesty part. If we remove a player from the equation of skill, we break down simply what they bring to the table in ranked. Top-end legends have, let's cover them: mobility, reset potential, and a way to engage quickly or disengage. Middle-of-the-road legends provide some pressure, some mobility, and some reset potential, but they fall short of why you might want to select a top-end legend. A low-end legend means you need to excel with stronger positioning, knowledge, aim, or stronger movement across the board of movement tech such as wall bounce, bunny hop to push them over the edge to make them viable. Now, we can sit here all day and break down the legends. Why? Well, let's break down the high-level examples. Crypto can be brilliant, but requires strong comms and momentum to keep up with the team. You gotta loot fast, you gotta be smarter. Wattson can be a great legend to hunker down, but Wattson needs to have strong aim, position awareness, and movement, because she has no mobility options. She relies on her teammates for that. We see Bangalore can be strong in 1v1s, but movement or utility can be better served from higher tier legends. That doesn't mean that extremely talented players cannot push Bangalore or specific legends through the meta because of the skill set that they have learned. Notice the theme: because of the skill set they have learned as they improve through ranked. The same with an S tier legend. We know that pick rates and we see them viable in a fight. You gotta ask yourself honestly, do I have the current skill set to push a legend higher up in viability? Do I understand my strengths and weaknesses as a player? That includes those that are going to defend Mirage. Do you have the game sense to make Mirage viable? If you do, awesome. We're kind of set with platinum. You should be into diamond and you should be into masters because you have that game sense. But here's the honesty part: if you don't, you're going to have to improve. You're going to need to pick a legend that's higher up on the tier list until you discover your strengths and weaknesses as a player. It does not mean you can't get there. It just means that you're learning, and that's okay. Platinum is a starting rank where you need to ask these questions. Now let's segue to the next topic real quick, is be quick at looting and rotation to the action. At this tier, the ones who loot slowly are the ones who get left behind in KP and lose positioning. Let me show you how efficient you need to be off drop for looting. This is where it starts to really matter, because at diamond and above rank, if you're any slower, you're going to struggle.
All right, for this section, it looks like nobody is landing checkpoint, so I'm going to land checkpoint and highlight how you loot this area as quickly as possible. There's many different ways you can start. The point is that you have to start in a certain location. So you can choose the bins on the far right, you can choose the bins on the outside of the building, or you can run inside, depending on what you want to do. So what we got to do is just loot up as quick as possible. Already know what your loadout is going to be. In this instance, a wingman kind of works. I'm going to pass on the sniper because I need myself a close range AR, so I'll skip on that. But knowing what you want to loot with, because wingman is pretty good for the engagement, maybe we'll go with a light gun. That's perfect there. Maybe we'll queue up top. There is loot on the other side, so you just want to like speed run it. You want to go fast. You want to be like Sonic. You want to know exactly what you need and drop items that you don't need. Don't pick up items that you don't need because that's just going to waste time time of you having to drop them. So there is a little extra loot here. Don't need any of that. I'm going to hit the bins on this outside here, all 3 of them here. I'm going to hit those other ones right there. And realistically, after you loot all of this and you find that one gun you're looking for, and if you can't really find it, pick up another AR just to make sure you're in the fight. Right now I got an alternator, and that kind of works for now. You just got to loot pretty quickly, and we can hit the bins down here. Think speed run, because at this point, if somebody was fighting, I got more than enough loot. I got 2 bats, 4 cells, and I'm pretty much ready to rock with all the nades that I could possibly need. Now, do I have an R31, R99, or car SMG? No. Did I possibly miss loot that I could use, and everybody can tear this video apart from the top level down? Yes. Of course, but we've already looted about half of this area. So if you wanted to speed it up, realistically what you could do is hit the bins here and then go for the building. But if it depends on where your teammates land. You know, you want to be pretty close to the action. You want to see what's going on. So you want to make sure that where you're dropping is logical to where you can get to your teammates, but you're not too far out, and that you're within, I guess you can call it shouting distance, right? Make sure that you have the right number of heals, everything that you need, hit the bin. And realistically, at this point, you can rotate. So let's say your teammates looted the other portion of this area. Let's say they hit here, they hit the bins there, they hit that, and I mean we looted half of this area, so realistically now we can just go through the center, meet up and say, hey, everybody's in the center here, and then just cut through and then go rotate. And at this point, what I'm going to end up doing is I'll probably just leave the lobby. I'm not really here to do any extra gameplay. But if you're wondering, okay, where do we loot to, where do we go to? Well, Cascade was hot. Remember we saw that in the drop? So essentially we would run there as fast as possible. If you got good loot, yes, you can go for purple, you can get for more stuff, but why do that when you can rotate and go third party? So you got to think of that. And yes, I could have grabbed those cells, but you know, when you're on the move, you're on the move. And honestly, if I die because 2 extra cells, if I'm trying to get to a fight in time, then I probably don't deserve to make this guide. But now when you cut over and you run, you can use Octane's jump pad, you can use any sort of utility that you need to rotate quickly to get over there. And if you want to take it slow, you would hit these buildings. There's a bat in there, all those items, but we know that they're all over here, and you can take the gravity cannon right here and tap strafe over if you want to do that as well. And I think that's pretty much all the tips. Speed run, speed run, speed run, speed run. Know your loadout, know what guns you like, have alternatives, and make sure that your loadouts are efficient. And most people get caught out with their loadouts that aren't really strong. And then boom, you know, we tap strafe over. You see that right there. There's a team, they're fighting, I believe. And there you go, that's pretty much it. At this point, I'll remind you, don't forget to leave a like. I'm going to segue now to gameplay. I'm going to talk about it. I will let him kill me. Leave a like because my poor little body. Alright, now what we're going to do in the video is review gameplay. We're going to do a slow drop, one that is contested, and quick for a third party. Now, when we cover Diamond, you're going to notice the next thing is going to be mind games, positioning, and all that interesting stuff. Because remember, any guide prior that we're watching here, such as Gold, Silver, Platinum, and Bronze, are the foundation steps. Everything takes you up to the next level. Also, a quick note for the video is to highlight that Platinum players could mean Master level and Predator level players dropping down to Platinum. Depending on when you start ranked, and if you're dropping a few lists, is how difficult that rank is actually going to be. I've started this series building off if you were starting for the first time, but deranking from Diamond into Gold and going Platinum is going to have a very different journey, especially when you're starting off in the series. It's why this checklist is so important. Now in this segment, I mentioned how you need to be fast and comfortable with whatever loadout you get so you can third party. So we all landed relatively near each other, and we know that there was a team that landed close by, and we're going to go third Elysium because we saw 2 teams there, and then we saw a third one also engage over there as well. So we know there's a lot of action. You see that building that was looted there? That's why one of my teammates landed pretty close, just in case, because they definitely had a cutoff there. Now we're going to go third this and engage relatively quickly. Now notice a clock that the first round hasn't really ended, and if we look at the timer, it's only been a minute and 13 seconds. So we've been very, very fast and efficient in making sure we get a pretty ideal loadout and go through pretty much speed running loot. And that's where you want to rotate quickly. Now, if you go too fast and you don't have the resources you need, let's say you get a Mozambique and you have absolutely no healing, well, you go in, you're just going to get stuck. So you need to make sure you at least get a somewhat decent loadout, or if your teammate is so confident that they have the loadout that they need, then that's perfect. So now you just pretty much will engage in the fight and you can single them out. So even if they get the jump on you, if you get the jump on them and they're caught out, well,
you've already done the damage. The damage is done. Even if there's multiple teams, you see how we're getting them in the third party here and getting them in the pinch. One team is ultimately going to disengage, and you got to figure out which team is actually going to make the mistake. And whenever you find that out, then you're pretty much going to be golden. So right now we're pretty much keeping 2 teams at bay here. This is a really great angle just to pretty much hold. You'll always find these type of angles when you're thirding to try to get the jump on a team. So we got a lot of cracks over there. We decide to continue to hold because we need to push over there and just get them pushed out. And we're just batting up, and then there we go. We go for the push, and we're going to go for the cleanup over here in just a hot second. Because we know the other team also is in a bit of shambles, but I'm pretty sure we can clean this up relatively quick. And we decide to go in on this. I missed one of my shots. That's okay. Sometimes it's better just to go for the shot. And the problem with Caustic, and this is a big tip and why you see a lot of Caustic and why he's so frustrating to deal with, he doesn't have mobility, but whenever he hunkers down, and it's why he's kind of in the middle of the pack. It's great that you have the hunkering down potential, but the problem is when you're stuck in a building and there's nonstop third party, then it's really hard to maintain momentum, especially when you need to get out. He needs to be paired with somebody to help him get out of dodge. Otherwise, you end up in that circumstance. But at least the other team wasn't making a push in, and we got pretty lucky, I guess to say, because this fight took way too long. But it kind of gives you the timing that you see in terms of Platinum of how long an engagement can last. If this was Diamond, we would have already been eliminated and thirded, and it just is kind of what it is. But at least you got that breathing room around Platinum, so you do have that at your disposal. So let's skip ahead. Let's just finish off the gameplay. Nice little shot midair as a nice little ending. And there's the rotation out. That other team honestly should have pushed like a decade sooner, but it kind of gives you the feeling in Plat, if there was Diamond above, it would not have happened that lucky. I do want to highlight that we actually did rotate back, so we wanted to actually re-engage on this encounter because we actually identified that, yes, they were a team that took way too long, and we actually even called it out, said, hey, this team took forever to engage, they can't be that confident, so let's rotate back on them. And I did make a mistake. I did end up getting caught out here, but they did give us a lot of breathing room and for the team to actually clutch it out. And we actually gave us time to get the res. So you can also feel out if a team is feeling confident in the encounter or not, whether to re-engage. And if a team pushes really quickly, you know that that team is going to continue to ape and feel really confident. If you sense time has passed and there's too much of the team hesitating, well, then that's a very clear sign that you might be able to re-engage or potentially win the fight because you kind of have the advantage over them. So try not to hesitate, because I give this advice all the time. When you hesitate, especially at higher tier lobbies, good players can sense it. Hesitating on pushes, hesitating disengaging, hesitating on shooting, hesitating on looting, all those things that you would hesitate on are what costs you a game, and you don't want to have a game costed. So let's skip ahead, and I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, because they decided to run. Let's segue to the next gameplay. So what do you do if a team forces a hot drop? Let's say you were that confident. Remember how I mentioned you have to be very strong in your decisions. If you know where you want to land, your team wants to land there, and a team still decides to 50-50 even though they're landing late, well, claim your spot because you know you're going to land first and know your loot pattern. If you know your loot pattern means that you go in the center and you grab what loot you need to get. There was a gold armor, which my teammates said they were going to land there. They already called it beforehand. As long as you stick to the plan, then you know you're going to have the leg up on your opponents. And because of that, we're already pretty much kitted. We have purple, we have a wingman, we have loot, we have guns, and we're pretty much set and good to go. This means that this fight is now viable. Let's say if we dropped and the loot was bad, you need to come to your teammates and say, hey, I got absolutely nothing. I need to back up. I can rotate back in just a second, but I do need a little bit of time before I can re-engage on the encounter. And that's okay to do. That's not a problem. You just got to let them know that you're going to be out of the fight for just a second. And this does actually turn into a pretty strong encounter. We do notice, and this is where the comms come in, even if you're playing with randoms, the one person I'm playing with is not a random, but one of them is. And so it's good to have just the communication knowing where an opponent is if they're by themselves. And this is going to matter more when we do the diamond guide of identifying who is isolated and who is not. So if a team member of a 3 is isolated, it means that it's a stronger chance that you can win that encounter. So now there's a strong 1v1 here. I go for the armor swap from what we saw earlier. Armor swaps are key for the fastest healing that you get, whether it's an armor on the ground or if it's armor off the box. And then boom, there you go. 3 eliminations right off the bat. Could have definitely been smoother. If this is diamond rank or above, there would be a third party inevitably that is coming for us right now. But because it's platinum, you get a little bit of breathing room. That's the only thing I will say about platinum, is that when you clean up, at least you get to breathe. Whenever you start reaching the high-end lobbies, you don't get to breathe anymore. It's all about reset potential, and it's why other legends start to struggle, because they don't have that reset potential to provide. So let's go to the next gameplay clip. let's discuss where you actually get gear and you loot and you're trying to third as quickly as possible. In this scenario, we got some loot under our belts, we had some decent stuff, and we tried just to go for the fight as quickly as possible. And sometimes a team is able to hunker down, and there's a Gibraltar bubble for the reset that actually saves his life, and a team makes it very difficult to actually push in because they're actually covering for their teammates. I actually almost got knocked there. So sometimes, unfortunately, a team will continue to back up, and the timing that you have inevitably will end up screaming for a third party to show up. And sometimes it just doesn't work out that way, and you have to say to yourself, you know what? We did our damage, we need to rotate, resources are starting to look thin, we need to get out. So once you get a knock, that is a clear sign that you should push in as quickly as possible. Lobo's Ultimate here is a great resource for a quick armor swap. Remember I mentioned armor swaps are a priority, as well as the loot that is dropped on, or armors that are dropped on the ground. So they disengage. So what does that mean for us? It means that we need to reset and disengage because we're not going to be able to really catch up to them. Even if we try to, they're going to be pretty much gone. So we did get one cutout potentially here, but this is what almost literally cost us the round, because I get rezzed and then we're just kind of reset again here because a third party did show up, which is what I always call it happens. You get a little bit of buffer like I mentioned in Platinum, but still sometimes they do show up. And so at this point, yeah, the Valkyrie that I did do a lot of damage to over there, I did whiff my last shot. That could have been a game changer if I didn't whiff, but I don't know how the grenade didn't blow up the door. I needed to throw it a little closer. And then a call is made. You know what? Resources are low. I have one gun. I don't even have any more med kits or syringes. We need to rotate out. And this other guy we were playing with as well didn't even have any cells. So sometimes it's just a hard disengage. You need to make the decision quick to go loot and say, you know what? At least we have materials now. And you just pretty much get out of dodge. At that point, it can lead to a dub, which this one ultimately did. And those decisions do make and break of you succeeding. So let's talk about what happens in a slow round very, very quickly, because this one is a lot easier to kind of discuss, and we've talked about it in prior videos. So now what happens whenever you drop relatively hot and you realize that, you know what, there's still no teams around, and we do see a team on the left, but then teams just run away from you and they don't engage. That just means you got more time to loot up. Let's make sure you got all the right gear, all the right armors, and this goes for a really long time. You can look for teams for a while, scout out, and unfortunately, nothing comes of it. You maybe get into a small fight midway through, and that's just kind of the reality of it. You rotate, and you notice that all the teams in the upper right, there's only 8 squads remaining. With only 8 squadrons remaining, I mean, you're just going to have to just get placement at that point, and there's nobody wants to really fight. It just is what it is. And then when you do get KP, and you do find a third party, then you get your points. So we flanked here because the team finally showed up, but then it's top 7, and then everyone decides to run away. And if they decide to run away, well, unfortunately, you're not going to get much out of it. But it doesn't mean that you can't have a high damage game or a lot of kills, because even at the end here, you see we had 6 eliminations, and we did end up getting this dub because we played it pretty smart as a squad, and it really worked out in our favor. So even if the game is slow, it doesn't mean it's the end of the world. It doesn't mean you won't get KP at the end. It doesn't mean you have to rush your teammates. It just means that the pacing of the round is going to be a little different. This is a downside of rank. Sometimes rank can be a little boring, bluntly, because the pacing is a lot slower, because you have to play smart rather than just getting to go in on all the action. Sometimes waiting for the action, especially if you have the resources, and waiting for the right time is better than rushing it. Alright, well that kind of wraps everything up. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Did you guys enjoy the guide? Was it helpful? Did it help you get out of Platinum? Did you have more of an honest conversation with yourself? When we talk through Diamond gameplay, you're going to notice that a lot of it can sometimes be a little bit slower paced, and sometimes you have rounds where you just really clutch up and things really work out in your favor. It's the unfortunate reality of a battle royale. So again, don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys all in the next video.